You have the most influence of anybody possible in your children's lives, and you do make a massive difference. Yes,
Amen.
God is sovereign, He's all-knowing, but He gave you a job to do and
That's
a
right.
responsibility to disciple and equip your children and point them to God. And that you are a tool that God is using so that your children do have faith in the Lord.
So often, we as parents find ourselves wrapped up in the culture. We find ourselves wrapped up in wanting to make our kids happy. We want to, do what the other parents are doing. We want to be cool to our kids, which I do. I mean, I want to be cool to my kids. I want to be their friend. I want to have those things, but I think so often today, parents are not willing to do the hard thing. They're not willing to have the hard conversations with their kids. They're not willing to be courageous because they don't want to hurt their kids' feelings, or they don't want to upset them. And they're fearful that their kids are going to somehow reject them by laying down the law, and to say, no, this is what our family does. This is our family culture. We obey God and His word, not the culture around us. But it's so different. I mean, again, going back to living in these unprecedented times, we're living in times where those of us who are really trying hard to live differently, we're kind of the weird ones. As Mickey Addison says, we're the peculiar ones. But God is worthy. He is worth living differently and set apart from the world. I mean, that's what it means to be holy, right?
Yeah.
As Christians, we should be striving for holiness. And holiness means being set apart. But man, you tell that to a teenager whose friends are all doing something else. They're having the sleepovers. We're in that same boat too, where, I mean, there have been so many times where like, we will pick you up at 11 o'clock at night, but you're not sleeping over, and it's hard to hold your ground on that, but it's because we know it's what's best for our kids. And it's hard. It's tough to be a courageous parent sometimes.
It is. And courage is required. It's required today, especially just think of extended family, in-laws, and things like that.
Yeah.
That's all, the cousins, all these things. How do you navigate all that? We don't have time to go into all that, but man, it takes courage to be able to have hard conversations with other adults who you love because maybe there's a bad influence happening. And I think so many parents, unfortunately, are concerned about the relationship with their sister, and they sacrifice their children.
Right.
I think we're always looking for a win. We're always looking for a win. We're always looking for, how can I preserve relationships and protect my children and equip them? But your family's got to come first. We got to make sure we are discipling them and training them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about how many parents choose not to homeschool because they want to, they know God's calling them to, but they know that grandma and grandpa are opposed to it, or grandma and grandpa have made it very clear. They have vocalized the fact that it's a terrible idea. You should absolutely not homeschool your kids. You're not educated. You're not trained for that. Go put them in schools with people who are trained and able to do that. And so, which is why we actually made the movie. I mean, that's one of the main reasons that we, produced Schoolhouse Rocked, is because we wanted to answer all those questions so that people could give that to, their loved ones and say, but here, I want you to understand why we're choosing to homeschool. I want to talk about one last thing before we end. I want to talk about creating a legacy, because I know that with your ministry, the Be Courageous ministry, you are very intentional about helping parents to create a legacy and what that looks like. And that's really what we've been talking about these past 2 weeks, right? We've been talking about recalibrating the family. We've been talking about intentional parenting, and all of that leads to creating a legacy that our kids can then take with them into their families. Talk for a minute about your heart behind that.
Yeah, well, I got to give some credit to my wife, because she's been writing about leaving a legacy for forever. I think she has 300 or 400 blog posts on it. You can find that at becourageousministry.org. But, are you parent? Let's say you have 3 children, the person listening right now. Are you really parenting 3 children? And the answer is no, because let's say each of those 3 children each have 3 children, just to keep math simple. And let's go 6 generations deep. It's way over 300 people. So the influence of your parenting on those 3, and that's not counting spouses, the influence of your parenting on those 3 children is vast, is important, is valuable, and is essential. And if you want to break off the bad parts of the old legacy where you come from, you have to break that off in your own life. If the buck doesn't stop with you, it's going to continue with your children and their children and their children likely. So
Yeah.
it's really important to go, okay, what needs to be changed? Because it's not just about this group. It's about all the groups in the forward. And what is it all going to be about? And what we hope for is it's all about Matthew 28. It's about sharing the gospel, but people have to know God to be able to share God.
That's
So
right.
that's what we really want. And how do you create a legacy of faith? Well, you can't actually. Only God does the saving, right?
Yeah.
But you have the most influence of anybody possible in your children's lives. And you do make a massive difference. Yes,
Amen.
God is sovereign. He's all knowing, but he gave you a job to do and
That's
a
right.
responsibility to disciple and equip your children and point them to God. And that you are a tool that God is using so that your children do have faith in the Lord. And so you're so important.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.